MLS rules. I have a great Zoom meeting that was recorded. I definitely need to like snugs him, but I'm gonna get to my news first.
Yes.
The MLS actually put it out. It's an hour long. And you want to know like the ins and outs of what MLS allows and doesn't allow? I'd be happy to send it to you. You're welcome to watch it. I don't know if they sent it to everyone. I don't know that they did. I signed up. They sent it as an invite and it was live. And then like I think it was just brokers that got it. Which to me seems so unbelievably silly because why not send it to the whole population?
Yeah.
And everyone can benefit from knowing the rules. Like, for example, I learned in there that you actually can have in, let's see, agent remarks and consumer remarks, public remarks, that a seller is offering a carpet allowance. Okay, or they are offering money towards closing costs for paint. We at this office have taken a hard line on, let's not even talk about any of that, right? Like, let's just not even ride the line. And I did get clarification from them, from the MLS, that that they will allow it if it's specific to carpet or paint. I guess I would err on the side of caution with saying it's, $5,000 closing costs allowed towards buyer's choice. Like, I wouldn't say something like that. But I would say condition of home, repairs needed, or carpet replacement, paint. I don't know, something to that effect. So I thought that was interesting because I think we've kind of evolved out of the nervousness around concessions being offered, right? And having it be commission based. The one thing that is interesting is they are really cracking down on like traditional listing or like buyer agent friendly. Buyer agent friendly is a little bit more obvious. Traditional listing isn't as much, but agents think that they're super creative, I guess, and are trying to like scam the system, and the MLS will bust you and you'll get a fine, and it's not okay. So hi there.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, how are you? Good, welcome. So there's that. There's a lot of clarity around withheld, incompletes, when they have to be in the MLS, when they have to, it's just a plethora. I mean, coming soon. For example, if you go withheld, so this was an interesting awareness that was made to me, and I'm going to give you more information around this. If you have a listing in withheld and you get an offer, or let's say you show it to like someone in our market center, or you show it to someone that you've made a one-on-one call to, which by the way, the MLS has clarified. If you call an agent from another brokerage with your listing, and because they have a buyer, you can call one-on-one, one at a time, other agents and say, I have this listing, would you like to get into it? And you can allow agents from other brokerages to see it in withheld status. You can. Not in coming soon. Okay. Well, here's a little like loopy-loo that I'm not super thrilled about. If you're in withheld and you show it to someone and they write an offer, and then you immediately have to go to like active contingent or TNAFS contingent, you can do that. But if the offer falls through, you can't go back to, you can't even cancel, relist, and go coming soon. Once you go from withheld to an active or TNAFS status, you can never go back to coming soon unless you wait 90 days.
What about active, like contingent on inspection? Are you saying TNA?
I'm just saying, if you go from withheld and you skip over coming soon, you miss your chance to ever go back to coming soon.
So that starts the clock essentially.
But that happens with even like right now. I had just a deal that I had that it was withheld, coming soon, active contingency pending. We took it off and went back on, and we don't we're not able to go coming soon again.
No, you're not.
That's like a certain amount of days,
90
no matter
days.
what.
90 days, no matter what. But the loophole that I'm talking about is you never even went coming soon in that process. So like you were in withheld, you get an offer and you never even made it. You have
So
to.
you still can't.
You still can't. Except if, here's where my rub is. Except if someone else lists the house, a different brokerage. And I was like, no, why are you giving, what? Like the same house, same clients, same property, same opportunity to list it. But if they go find another agent but okay, not just another agent, another brokerage. They can go coming soon. I'm like, I'm gonna talk to them. Okay. I have no pull or power. I am gonna talk to them though, because to me, that just doesn't feel like that's giving the opportunity for the property and the seller, right? I don't really, like, all of us, we need to just work within the rules. It just is what it is. Like, I'm not even advocating for us, I'm advocating for the consumer, because it's like, if the consumer missed the chance to go coming soon, but then if they knew they could anyways, I know this is like really like this big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, but just FYI, there's
When it does happen.
when it does happen, or if any of you call me and you're like, well, we were in withheld, we got an offer, I had to go TNAFS because we were not in withheld anymore, we were in an offer status, that you can't go back until you've been 90 days off the market. Unless they list with another brokerage. And it's just like, that just is silly bananas to me.
Question, if I may. Yes. I like that smile because you know something's coming.
We've got something coming.
Well, I guess what I'm confused by is the definition of withheld. The only thing that withheld does is withhold you from MLS. So why, if you are withheld from MLS and you accept an offer, why must that property that was withheld from MLS now go into MLS contingent?
The agent who is on the buy side has a valid position to say that the home needs to be represented appropriately in the MLS.
And I
And
would argue we have an appropriate argument that we have not been given authorization by the seller to do anything other than withhold. We can discuss this at a later time. And it doesn't apply to anything going on right now, but I think that's utter nonsense, and that's an easy one to win.
I agree. And what I found so interesting about this webinar that I watched, again, I'm happy to share it with all of you, and have you watch it for your enjoyment. There was a lot of question around if this when is it necessary to go into pending? Okay, so same line of thinking, Brad, but specifically now about pending is, when do you go from active contingent on inspection or TNAFS contingent and then move to pending? And it does specifically require seller approval to go to pending. And what's interesting is the MLS has some power, and then they have some, respect that they have to show for the consumer. So I don't disagree. However, there is a lot of clarity coming around all these statuses, and I think it's really, really important that we don't make any assumptions because they're ready to fine. And I'm trying to make sure that you guys aren't paying the penalties for doing things outside the rules, whether that makes sense or not, but just simply understanding what our options are, how we move through, utilizing a system that is supposed to be there to support our business needs. And so I'm doing everything I can to be up to speed. Brad, that'd be a great question to call the MLS and ask them, which I plan to call them and have a further dialogue after that webinar anyway. But everyone here in this office, in this market center, if you hold a license, you have rights to call MLS and ask them questions. MLS Rules has an email and they have a phone number, and all of you should have it saved in your phone, because honestly, you all should be equipped with the knowledge and power to know that you need to get your questions answered. I'm not always going to know the answers, and most of the time when y'all call me about MLS, I'm like, here's the number.
Yeah.
I'm like, literally, here's the number, because I'm not always going to be readily available. I don't always know all the answers, and I am not the manager or the supervisor of MLS, right? So hearing it from them, and honestly, I want more of you to challenge them. And there's dual benefit to it, because the more that they hear from their, you know, their agents that pay them to exist, literally, the more that they can support us. And I think that's why we're seeing some of the changes we are, like, an agent as a listing agent can call an agent from another brokerage and say, I think you have a buyer in this area. I don't even know how that's
It's like a one-on-one basis.
one-on-one basis, but they have clarified one-on-one can work. So,
Mass emails, blah, blah, blah.
right, but
Yeah, I could send a message on
Yeah.
Instagram one-on-one to how many people,
right, exactly.
but yeah. Also, there's a really good, if you send out, like maybe Hannah or Ethan can send out the video on that you had, but there's like a really good one pager on like coming soon, like it has a check next to like, what are you allowed to do? And what's the time frame? And it has like withheld, coming soon, and all the statuses, and then it has like, I think, rules and rights phone number on there.
Awesome, that's great. I will get that from them and post it, send it out, because I think that'd be
I can
really
read it.
helpful.
The-
Yeah, that'd be amazing. All right, so keeping things moving, lots of topics around MLS and how to use it and how to work with withheld. And, you know, you guys, at the end of the day, I mean, the answers are what they are, like the rules are what they are. And the rules are applicable when you know, like when you're caught. And I hate to say it so bluntly, but I'm not trying to mince words here. Like, I'm not suggesting anyone doesn't follow the rules. I want you to follow the rules. I need you to follow the rules. But if you're having conversations with 3 agents from Remax and you send them a group email, it's like, are they going to turn you in because you're telling them that you have a listing that, you know, all 3 of them work that neighborhood or something? I don't know. I mean, are you supposed to do it? I know you're not supposed to do it. Oh my gosh, that'd be still.
What's funny is I don't think anybody can see the baby. They think you're crazy.
Yeah.
We have a little baby in the office, if everyone doesn't know. He's 4 months, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, so that's the conversation on MLS. I just want to touch on compliance in the market center. About a month ago, beginning of August or so, was when we were talking about the forms changes, and I had 2 meetings, and I really hope all of you saw at least one of the 2, because they made a lot of clarifications around the expectations related to compliance. And you're just going to keep continuing to hear this. An email went out yesterday talking about compliance and files being submitted, etc. So with compliance, our brokerage is required to implement compliance standards, okay? And it is our responsibility and our honor to help all of you understand what is required, the right way to do things, and making sure that we can check your work. It is required by the Department of Commerce that we check your work. We are not supposed to give you your portion of your commission until we check your work, okay? It's a requirement. And so what we are doing is we are tightening up those expectations and tightening up those standards. So all listings, even withhelds, it is a requirement that they have to be put in MLS as withheld, not the entirety of the information about the MLS, but some basic information has to be put in the MLS. And that has to be done within days of a listing contract being signed, and a withheld obviously also being signed. Okay. Not only does it need to go in command, it needs to be notified to the front desk if you're asking for the front desk for help. We do need, and I'm working on some clarity around the list dates versus the active dates, right? Because if we have coming soon, we have this form, this really cool form on coming soon that says what the new active date is. But we do have a gap in our forms. I will acknowledge that if you list a home on September 17th, which is today, you sign contracts today, and you sign a withheld today, but you don't go live on the MLS till October 31st. There's nowhere that says how to handle, or that the sellers agree when you are going live on MLS, right? Because your withheld date shows today as the list date. But your live date in MLS, the actual day that it goes live, you don't want the 17th of September all the way to October 31st be accumulated days on market without actually being on the MLS, right? Right. So another project that I'm going to work on is having the MLS be like, all right, let's submit a active on MLS date, just like we have in the coming soon. What day are we active, or what day are we technically coming soon on the MLS? And then in active status on the MLS, right? Does that make sense? Like there's a gap in our paperwork. And I'm not trying to create more paperwork for everyone, but I think everyone would benefit from just having the clarity around what date do you want it to go coming soon on the MLS? What date do you want it to be active on the MLS? We have the coming soon clarity and then subsequently the active date on the coming soon form. But if you go from withheld to active, there's no clarity there, right? There's no form or anything that says what day is actually going active after it comes off of withheld. Okay. Not sure I'm gonna get any traction with it, but maybe they might hear my reasoning and we'll get there. It is required by our office that you are within 2 business days giving us your listing paperwork from the point that the exclusive right to represent was signed. Okay? You also now, we do have a new policy that does say when you sign a purchase agreement and you have a final execution date, you have 2 business days to turn that in to command. It's no longer 2 weeks before closing. We are experiencing major delays in many agents turning them in too late. They're either incomplete or elements or components are not done correctly, and we don't have enough time to correct and have you talk to your clients to make sure to get the corrections and have the right paperwork. Okay? So not only is your business and license at risk, but so is the market center. So is the brokerage itself. Okay, so it's gonna feel like a lot. You have a purchase agreement that just went under contract. You've got to get it into command and you've got to submit it for review. Especially if it's a listing, there is no flexibility on it because we can't process earnest money until we have an opportunity in command on a listing. Right? We need to correlate the money that's coming in through trust funds, which happens very quickly after an execution date. So even before an inspection happens, we want the paperwork submitted. And yes, that is going to mean that if you have a cancellation, you process the cancellation. It's the way the business should be done. We have been very lax and we are pulling out of that flexibility and we are going into expectations so that we're done the right way and done accurately. So ultimately at the end of the day, it benefits your clients and the consumers, right? Because that's really why we all do this, is for the consumer. Any questions or thoughts on that? I don't have is there anything in chat?
Can you, I don't want to open up a massive can of worms on this, but maybe I'm not understanding this correctly. Talk about the MLS input form. When is that go? Let me go first, because then I'll tell you what, because this has never been raised to me until the last couple weeks.
I know.
And an MLS input form has a singular purpose. That is to authorize that data to be input and presented to the world on behalf of your client. It requires our signature and it requires our seller's signature. It encourages them to review data for accuracy and to approve it, to hand it off to the office so that when you guys input it, you know you've got authorization to do so. What I'm hearing is that we need an MLS input form at the time of withheld. We don't have authorization to put it into MLS. What are we talking about? And one page doesn't do anything.
We have to have the MLS input form to be signed by the seller at the time of signing an exclusive right to represent, because the MLS requires that if we have a withheld, it has to be loaded in the MLS within 2 days. It's just the approval to get the basic information into the MLS. It's page 1, not the subsequent pages. It's not all the data filled in.
I'll fill in what I know and then I'll have them re-initial when I have that information, I'll just go back in and have them initial once we're farther down, and like same with like the agent remarks and the public remarks, like just have them sign off on it at a later date. That's what I do.
Yep.
So you're doing it in two stages then. You're
don't-
basically doing,
We don't even require there being a secondary signature of any sort. MLS requires very clearly that when we have an exclusive right to represent and a withheld, that withheld form requires that the listing be put in MLS in withheld status within 2 days. And we do have to have the MLS input form letting your sellers know that your basic information, address, list date, expiration date, and price are being put into the MLS. They do not have, the whole entire form I would say a third of it is required, 2/3 is not required. So we're not managing the content past page 1. We just need
really? Okay.
Yep. We just need a signature on the first page with your sellers acknowledging that we're putting you into the MLS.
I had MLS tell me the exact opposite on that when they changed forms. They told me that they do not gather MLS input forms. Or they do not audit those.
You're right, they don't, we do. We need to
Okay.
make that as a brokerage, our sellers know that they're going in the MLS within 2 business days. Because that's,
But if I can though, the requirement in MLS is that we are within 2 business days, that we are visible in MLS. That the withheld precludes that visibility. It's
Not
the require.
no, the MLS can see it and it is a requirement. And we are required as a brokerage to have the MLS input form, agency, affiliated, KW disclosure, exclusive right to represent, and the withhold form all in command within 2 business days of those forms being signed. All those forms should be signed if you're signing an exclusive right to represent. And that MLS input form, that front page does need to be signed so your sellers know that it's not visibility to all of MLS. But it is visibility to the MLS managers, supervisors, that they need to be able to see it.
I don't think many people realize like the information on that first page that talks about like the input form and like the information that you're putting in. Like I started to make sure like, you know, you touch point on those things and that, because I think it's a page that gets skipped over a lot.
Yep. And it's simply a matter of full disclosure to the consumer of what's happening. Because the information is going on to the MLS. And the managers and owners of the multiple listing service of North Star themselves, they can see it. And we can't have information going into the MLS without that form. Just like we can't have, I mean, even more foundational, we can't have anything going into the MLS without an exclusive right to represent form. But they're all bunched together. They don't live independently of each other. The disclosures are about the only thing that you don't need signed at the time of going into the MLS 2 days from signing an exclusive right to represent contract.
So you could get it signed 2 weeks before, and then before you go live.
Yep.
You get your disclosure signed, and then.
Disclosures are for the buyers. Right? So as soon as you're making it available to buyers, the disclosures have to be ready and available.
What about the, like affiliated business disclosure, that stuff?
Affiliated, agency, KWS disclosure, all have to be signed when you sign an exclusive right to represent.
And have to be submitted with.
And have to be submitted with the exclusive right to represent, the MLS input form.
Okay, so I guess my question is, if I had agency disclosure affiliated and the KW signed back in April.
Yep.
for a client,
Yep.
But then I'm re-signing just the listing agreement. Is that okay if I
Yep.
submit that old form then?
Yep.
Okay.
So Alexis, that was kind of my question as well, because so when you sign agency, affiliate, all those things that she listed yesterday in that email have to be signed at the same time. Like the
Yeah.
affiliate,
Disclosures are one category, contracts are another. So there's a exclusive right to represent is a contract, and new dates are being signed, and that actually needs to be signed when you're starting a new listing. If you cancel and relist.
So I'm talking about a buyer. If we have the buyer rep contract and agency, and the affiliate needs to be signed at that time as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And
And
then there's the buyer's disclosure one too. Does that have to be signed at that same time?
the only thing on a buyer side that isn't signed until the purchase agreement is the compensation disclosure to buyer.
Right, okay. So what was, she listed another thing on there. It was the consultation. What's that?
I think she meant like a showing agreement, like not a full buyer rep agreement, like a scaled back showing.
Oh. Okay, I wondered what she meant by that. So now another question is, those have to be turned in within 2 days of signing them, even if even if it didn't go anywhere. If, okay, I have this buyer and
Yep, all of our buyer contracts that we sign need to be in command.
really, I've never done that. Okay, so what if you do a few showings and then you don't really have them anymore? I mean, that's,
They live in command as a contract that you went under, and the brokerage needs a copy, which is why you're putting it in command, because you're conducting business. And we need copies of all the contracts that are happening with the consumer.
okay. I've never done that. I've not been, okay.
We're doing our very best to transition into full compliance.
Mhm.
And there's been a lot of accepted practices, and there's more scrutiny than ever. And if your buyer were to file a code of ethics claim for the time you show them a few houses, even though you didn't write an offer, and the brokerage doesn't have a copy of your contract with that buyer, and we should be able to query on your behalf our records to show who you've been in relationship with, because our errors and omissions insurance would cover you, but it doesn't if we don't have a copy of your contract.
I have a question that's it's still on the same topic, but it's not about specifically listings. Well, I mean, it kind of is. So I was talking with somebody recently, and conversation got brought up, if you can show property as the listing agent, you're listing to a buyer that's unrepresented without a buyer representation contract. And from my understanding, you don't need a buyer representation contract if you're representing the seller. As long as they know that you're the listing agent and you're representing the seller, you are good to show that property. Is that correct?
Yep, so I don't know if you can all hear, but Joe just asked if you are the listing agent and you're gonna show your property that you have listed, you do not need any sort of a representation contract or understanding or even a conversation with that buyer, other than I am showing you this home representing the seller.
And do you need to show them an agency disclosure?
Agency
Have them sign
disclosure.
that?
Yep, at least an attempt, there is, thank you for bringing up this topic. When you show your listing and you're representing the seller, and this consumer knows that, the potential buyer knows that, you actually have to tell them if they want representation, it's a different conversation. You actually have to go fully through and disclose, because there are people that are showing their listings to consumers, not creating a relationship with the buyer contractually in any way, shape, or form. And then the listing agents are getting upset because the buyers are going and working with a different agent to write the offer. But technically, that's acceptable. Is it the threshold? Is it a violation of the threshold rule? Yes. Okay, because if the buyer agent didn't show the home, the listing agent that did show the home could potentially fight for procuring cause. I haven't heard anybody fight for procuring cause in the last 9 months to 12 months or anything like that. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. Yep.
But if you're the listing agent in that scenario, wouldn't that, if you were to take it a step further and enter into a contract with that buyer, that would be dual agency, correct?
It could be. It would
Could be.
it would be if they buy that house.
Right.
But if they want, and it could be. maybe.
Right,
But the point is the agents that are showing the homes, hoping that they buy their listing,
right.
they're mad that a new agent gets brought in when the listing agent showed the house.
You're not likely to work with that. I mean, I'm
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Very
You're
brand
just-
new, like.
But historically,
Mhm.
there is a prevailing thought that if I have a listing and I can represent the buyer, then I'm winning. Okay,
I mean, yeah.
because I get the listing commission and the buyer commission.
Right,
I think some evolving thought is that the conflict of interest with dual agency is a concern. And are you really making, the question is rhetorical for everyone. Are you really making as much money as you could if you have a buyer that comes in that you represent that buys your listing? Not only do you have a conflict of interest, you typically also have a negotiation to reduce commission. Sometimes, oftentimes.
Mhm.
My argument is, I think that if you were to have a buyer look at your listing, you're better off trying to get them under contract to buy a different property, and you're likely to make more money because they don't think you're like in on the deal or like making too much money on selling a house, right?
Right.
You're getting the listing side and the buyer agent commission.
Mhm.
It used to be the thought that you could hog the house. If you've ever heard the term hogging the house, that's what you mean. It's, you get the listing commission and the buyer agent commission. Well, there are plenty of agents that are well seasoned that have had this happen and like the opportunity to sell their own listings to their own buyers. We are more regulated, more supervised, more it's less easy to do that. It's less easy to do that within the bounds of the rules. And I'm just explaining that there are agents that will show, I'm just letting you guys all know though, that just because you don't have a buyer rep agreement with a buyer on your listing, it does allow another agent to come in and write an offer because you didn't talk to them about buyer representation or explain to them that if you did represent them and they bought that listing, which is your listing, it's dual agency. And here are the complications or challenges or opportunities of dual agency, which I am not a fan of dual agency. I'm also not a fan of facilitation, and I'm happy to go into it. I just don't think anybody does it really well at a high level, the right way, and stays out of trouble.
Yeah.
That's really why I have an issue with it. Not that it can't be done effectively, and it does exist for a reason. In general, it is not handled the right way, both facilitation and dual agency.
And I asked the question because I think the impression that I've got, and I haven't asked every single agent in this office, but the impression that I got in this market center is most people sort of fall in line with what you're talking about in terms of trying to avoid that situation. That's why I'm like, well, wait a second, that's gonna put you in a bad
And
spot.
I've worked pretty hard to at least communicate that and
Yeah.
on opportunities where we've got group settings where I'm basically saying like, you know, you can't discuss price terms. The price either party is willing to accept or pay, the terms either party is willing to accept or offer, and the motivation of either party. Okay, so in dual agency. And then, so you're scaling back all these services that you offer as a realtor, which is the same reason why I don't like facilitation. I don't know how anybody can go from like this, like one-stop shop, do everything, offer the whole world, paint, clean, pack, stage, furnish, like negotiate, you know, defend, all these things. And then all of a sudden be like, I'm just gonna do this for you.
Nobody ever just wants that.
Nobody ever just wants that. What people usually, and I know I'm jumping from dual agency to facilitation, but facilitation usually is, I'm looking for a deal. I want all that you have to offer for a deal. So let's just call a spade, because that's really what's happening in the,
Yeah.
and dual agency is really challenging because I don't think, I think it would be easily challenged that neither the seller or the buyer's best interests are being observed
Yeah.
by one agent in the middle of those two people.
Right.
I think that's a very fair argument.
What is like, I guess, I feel like it gets into a sticky position even when it's the, I mean, I guess I don't know for sure, but like having the same brokerage, two agents, I mean, you're technically still dual agency.
But let me talk about this, because here's the other caveat to, you can show a home listed for sale by our brokerage and not need a buyer rep agreement. Because we're technically showing the home representing the seller.
That's what question I was gonna ask is about showings.
You can show a home, any home listed by our brokerage, you can show a buyer without a buyer rep agreement.
Mhm.
Okay, just because it can be done doesn't mean it should. Okay, the reality is how are you going to go show a home representing the seller when you don't know the seller, you've never seen the house, most likely, you probably haven't read the disclosures, and you don't, how are you going to actually represent the seller? And do you know how to represent the seller when you're interacting with the buyer? And when your intention is actually to get the buyer under a representation contract? It's like bait and switch.
Yeah.
So just because you can do it doesn't mean you should.
When I was at Coldwell, I remember doing an open house for somebody. And I just built this relationship with this agent. And then all of a sudden, a couple days later, he calls me and he's like, I have a buyer that I would like you to represent.
Mhm.
I don't feel comfortable representing the seller and the buyer.
Yep.
That's totally okay, right?
Absolutely. And I'd encourage all of us in this market center to create a relationship with at least one other agent that you could go to say, when I have a listing, if I have a buyer inquire about this, I want to refer it to you and this is what we're going to do for that arrangement. Whatever that looks like, you get to make it up, okay? And is there possibly conflict of interest? Possibly, yes. But there's a much bigger barrier between, Joe's representing the buyer and I'm representing the seller. Joe and I can talk, but we're not supposed to. And we don't because we actually follow ethics guidelines. We follow the rules. I don't go to him and I'm like, hey, these people will take $50,000. I mean, it just doesn't happen. That's just not actually how any of it, okay. Not in our brokerage. Not in people I'm in business with.
Maybe a couple.
Maybe at other brokerages. I'm sure there is some potential for those activities happening, but not here. And it's really important that we do business the right way. It is, because it matters to the consumer. Because we've all been consumers and we are always going to be consumers of some things. If we had people commiserating behind the scenes, making us have to pay more or earn less money from a transaction, ouch, right? It's just wrong.
I guess that's like a good reminder for people too, like if you do have a go-to agent that you're wanting to like refer your business to, is like, if you plan to represent that seller yourself, don't be having stories about whatever is going on with that specific client, so that if you want to refer the business out, you've represented your seller separately and they don't know any of the situation about that transaction yet, so that like you're not like, oh, they have zero equity in the home, like, and all of those things, so that you can refer with good mind that they don't know anything with dual agency being there.
Right. That's the reality, guys. Like, you have a listing and you're going to show it to a buyer without a representation contract. So you are there representing the seller, which means you're not giving the buyer any information about the property. You're basically already acting like dual agency because you're there to protect the seller's interest. You're not trying to talk the buyer into the home or say what a great deal it is or look at all these improvements that have been made. Or the seller's really motivated. You should write an offer.
Yeah.
You shouldn't even conduct yourself that way. And the truth of the matter is, I know we're all trying to maybe like go around this need for a buyer rep agreement, but our industry will be better when we all really just embrace the fact that buyers need to know what they're getting themselves into, right? Not only do they need to have a buyer rep contract, they need to be pre-approved. Because why would any of us spend our time hoping and wishing and praying that they can buy a house? But again, this business is hard. I'm not saying at all to anyone that like, this is going to be the easy way to do it. This is hard. This is difficult, to have difficult conversations, face people, tell them they have to pay money for your service. And the better you get at it, the more you practice it, the easier it becomes.
So I know how we typically go into, like, if you have a listing and you want me to come and, cause you're out of town,
Uh-huh.
or whatever, and you need me to show the house for you this weekend cause you have an open house.
Sure.
How should I attack that? I know I'm there to show the listing, but in reality, we're there to try to
Earn the buyer.
earn the buyer. most buyers that come in aren't buying that house.
Right.
And we know that.
Right.
So how should we approach it? I know we're supposed to be there to represent
The
the
seller.
seller,
So the
but
first,
we're really not.
the first and foremost, disclosure is key. The one thing that we have to remember when we're representing a seller to anybody else outside of just coming into a home and representing a seller, disclosure, disclosure, disclosure. Everyone needs to know that a disclosure on a counter is not sufficient disclosure transfer. You actually have to either pick it up and hand it to them and say, please read this. And then write down in your notes, I handed it to them at 11:47 a.m. while they were walking through the home. I'm not kidding you guys. I know agents that have been fined for not picking it up off the counter and handing it to a buyer. Literally saying like, I thought it was enough to just have it sit on the counter.
For what situation?
So the agent in our brokerage
Yeah.
was hosting an open house.
Yeah.
For a listing in our brokerage.
Yeah.
But they're there trying to earn a buyer.
Yeah.
You actually have to say, you have to pick up the form and hand it to a buyer and say, here's the disclosure. That is the way to represent the seller.
If you're like, oh, do you want to get together for a meet, like a buyer consultation? Or if they're just like, if you're like, hey, like, let me know if you have any questions about the home, like at what point do you think it's appropriate with the conversation to hand them that? Like if you're the type of agent who,
You literally just have to be able to say like, here's the disclosure. It's important you read it. The sellers want to make sure you know that this is the disclosure that they're offering. You have to identify it. You have to touch it. You have to.
with every single person that comes through.
Yes. Yes, it literally, and again, I know that sales models operate differently. I know I was actually part of a hearing where an agent got fined $2,000 because it was on the counter. And the buyer filed the ethics claim that didn't end up buying the house. And the agent got fined $2,000 because that agent thought it was enough that it was sitting on the counter and they referenced it as sitting on the counter, but it was in the other room. That agent was in the living room and the disclosure was in the kitchen.
What was the reasoning for the?
Like, why did they get mad?
Yeah, what was?
Actually, no logical valid reason. To be really honest, that very litigious, very like just wanting to make everybody's life miserable because they were miserable. I know it sounds like a crazy reality, but it's actually the truth. This buyer felt like they were wrong by everybody they came in contact with and filed not only ethics violations, but took them to conciliation court. Lost in conciliation court and appealed and got it into civil court because they felt wronged by every single person in the real estate experience.
I've never showed someone a disclosure, well, like picked up and handed to them.
Please do.
If I'm doing it.
Please do, or say, you actually, not only, remember how we do agency? I have to show you this, like I have to at least explain to you what the agency options are in the state of Minnesota. I do want you to know that the disclosure is right here for you to read. Like touch it, feel it, hand it. If they don't take it, you can't force anyone to do anything, right? So this isn't like a buyer responsibility portion. It's about you identifying the disclosures are on the island. It's a white piece of paper. Please take a look. It is my requirement to make sure that you know that I'm providing full disclosure that the seller's offered because I'm here representing the seller.
Is it just me, or is it almost more comforting for the buyer to know, like, who you represent, where you stand within? Because sometimes people come into an open house and I think
They actually don't have any idea why you're there.
or they just think you're a salesperson at the end of the day, like just trying to sell them.
But to my point, they don't know why you're there.
Right.
They don't realize you're actually there representing the seller. You're there providing access to the home. You're there to share disclosure. You're there to explain their agency options. You have responsibilities while you're there. They don't have any idea what those are if you don't explain them.
So yeah, if I was a buyer and you explained to me as soon as I walked in, like, hey, just so you know, like, I don't want to like
Yeah.
scare you or anything, but this is the representation. I'm not actually
I'm here representing the seller.
Yep.
I'm making this home available to you.
Yep.
Here are your representation options in the state of Minnesota. Here's the disclosure that the seller has offered. And I encourage you to read it and review it. Let me know if you have questions. And if you'd like to discuss us creating a relationship as a buyer and agent, you guys, I'm giving you like the, like literal, like quote unquote best practices.
Yeah.
You guys get to do whatever you want to do, right? This is that whole like,
I guess
your cut, like,
casual way to do it is like if you print your customer condensed forms to like hand to the buyers when they come through, you could have that in one hand, the agency in the other. Hey, here's some information on the home, just so you're aware, this is the agency relationship disclosure. Please take this with you and review it. You could literally hand them one. I mean, print it black and white and it's easy.
They want information.
they want information and they want to be told why you're there.
Exactly. They want to be.
They actually don't want to operate in the ambiguity of like, well, what am I doing? Why am I, who are they? Are they trying to get my business? Like, I have an agent. It's my favorite thing. Oh, you do you? That's
Write
wonderful.
your name down.
Yeah, I mean, so the whole idea is we need as a industry, specifically our brokerage, need to remember our responsibilities, right? We are not there to actually just try to earn a buyer. Your responsibility is to the seller in an open house.
Are we allowed to say, I represent the seller, but I'm not actually the listing agent?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
100%.
To like make them feel more comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. That's accurate. I'm here representing the seller. I don't actually have a relationship with the seller, but my brokerage does. I am here creating opportunities for me to meet buyers because I have a lot of other things that I could show you. Right? I mean, there's a lot of ways going about this, but it's all about disclosure, information, being open, honest, and transparent. It's the whole reason why the litigation happened last year in the settlement. It's because people are tired of people, agents, the industry specifically, not you guys, but in general, not really being honest and sharing what's actually going on. Because it's been easy to get away with it, and it's just not as easy anymore. So also, listing agreements have to have prices on them at the time of listing. No TBD, no blank, no range, one specific price.
How easy is it to change that? So like, let's say,
Super easy.
for example, the 270
Yep.
we put, it's let's say 250 or
Yep.
240 is more reasonable. Do you need to sign a specific?
Change form.
Change.
That change form. Yep. The change form is where you sign it. And yes, more paperwork, more requirements. It's not just handshake. Here's another thing, you guys. Buyer rep agreements do have to have your minimum expectation for commission plus the broker admin fee, or has to encompass both. Like you have to have, so like if you know you're gonna get probably 2.7 and you charge 450 or more for the broker admin fee, 3% does cover it. Side note, information forthcoming, because I haven't had a solution to this yet. I had a title company tell me they weren't gonna pay me the broker admin fee because they didn't line item it on my buyer broker or my buyer representation agreement. It's not going well for them, just so you know. It's not.
So you can, I was told at one time, I thought that we could not have a minimum amount that we would receive in the buyer.
Whatever you put is the minimum. I mean, is the maximum minimum. It's what I'm saying is you have to have at least what you're gonna, if you're only putting in the commission you're gonna earn in the buyer rep agreement, you have to also line item the broker admin commission in the buyer rep agreement.
Well, like if you put the 3%.
Then you're covered by both. And if you earn 2.7, and what basically, if you put 3% in your buyer representation agreement and the listing is paying out 3%, or you get that negotiated in your contract,
Over that.
you can't charge the broker admin commission to your buyer.
What if like you want to have the conversation with your client that like the minimum I'll take for a commission is 2%.
Yep. You'd have to have a conversation about it and not
It
put
can't
it in
be,
writing.
right,
It
that's
can't
what-
be in writing.
If we forget that, it comes out of our commission card.
Yep. It does. The 450. Yep.
Or like,
Commission.
if you don't want to charge it, just don't put it in there, and then.
I have another question
Yeah, go ahead, Mickey.
okay, so, I'm out of state for a while and I have a buyer and, I have another agent from our office that has shown up for me. And then he FaceTime me during it, so I would have the video of that during the time that they're showing. So when I go into showing time and set up the showing, and then I just put in the notes to be shown by another agent in our office, and then put his name in there. Is that appropriate?
Technically, no.
Not technically, no, because you're not accessing the property, so the agent that's showing it should actually be submitting the
Doing it.
showing request. And then putting in that you're also a party to the transaction maybe, but
Put your email and say.
put
like,
your email, yeah, you could like add you as a point of contact in that showing request. But it actually should be the other way around. So if I'm showing for you, I need to set up the showing in my record and add you as someone to receive information about the activity for that showing.
But I'm the one who has the buyer contract.
We all do.
Yeah, but
Not-
they're in the brokerage represents the buyer, and another agent can show a home on behalf of the brokerage with that buyer because you have a contract with that buyer.
Because I have a contract, it's okay for him to show it.
As long as they're in our brokerage, because the brokerage is who actually represents the buyer. First and foremost.
Okay, so I'm not doing that right then. Okay, I'm glad I asked.
Yeah, no, and it's okay. It's a
Common.
relatively minor and a very common practice. So we're trying to get clarity around all this stuff. Hey, by the way, guys, one other thing I want to mention, when you are discussing signing paperwork with anybody, right? You're gonna have them sign paperwork. We all have someone else that comes in that can be the heavy hand, right? You gotta talk to me, you gotta go through me, you gotta get my approval, right? We all need to find the confidence to talk to all the people, especially the heavy hand, to say, you're not the one that actually signs the contract. You can be a party to the conversation, but I will never have a conversation exclusively with you. The person that's on title, that is actually signing the listing, has to be a part of the conversation. The person that's gonna be on the purchase agreement, actually buying the house, has to be a part of every conversation. Meaning, if you've got a parent that's like, my kid doesn't know what they're doing, you need to run through me, you need to professionally inform them that that is not how it works.
Yeah.
You have to maintain the relationship with your client, the person that is either in title, that's transferring title, selling, or going to be earning title to something, right? The person that's in the contracts is who you always need to have in the conversation. And no one can sign for anyone else without a verified power of attorney. And by the way, if you do get a power of attorney, I would run it by your title company and ask them if they would accept it. If the title company would accept it for closing docs, then I think it's acceptable that you accept it for listing docs. You do have to have tough questions with consumers. Are you married? Are you in a divorce? Where's the divorce at? Are you done? Is it dissolved? I need a copy of that before we can sign listing paperwork. We have to have tough conversations. I think that the summary of today's conversation is we all have to have tough conversations and feel more confident and comfortable in doing so. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
And the more we know, the better we will be at having these conversations.
Is that part of the reason why in the listing contract it says, marital status, single?
Yep, it is actually.
Okay.
It's one of the many flags to identify, is there someone else a party to this? And by the way, you guys, everyone, if you don't know it yet, you will learn the hard way. Everybody lies. Okay, it's not just buyers, it's not just sellers, but literally everybody lies. They just don't know always why, or that they maybe even are doing it, or that there is harm involved or an issue involved. And you do have to verify. So if they say they're not married, like, you need to check the title. Is there anyone else on the title? You don't want situations where you signed a listing agreement. I mean, there are people that will try to sell a house with a listing agreement and have no title rights to a property. It's actually happened, crazily enough.
And if you ask and you're just not sure too, just to have like,
Confidence.
oh, well,
In-
like, I had like one person that I was like,
I don't know.
or like even, I was really confused on, one of them was originally from Columbia, and I had asked him, his wife didn't speak very good English, and I was like, well, for sure she had her US citizenship and like had emails in place to like cover that and like marital status too, because he was apparently married in Colombia. I'm like, so are you married?
In the United States.
Yeah.
And these aren't things that we necessarily need to know or be experts on. Marriage and title rights, or divorce dissolutions, or partnership dissolutions and LLCs. This is why, like, I'm available and I can help you. Our title companies can help you. There's so many resources, and we do actually have to ask the tough questions. And by the way, guys, what, like, the unanimous thing I'm hearing across the board is we are now back to regular real estate. Okay, so the last 5 years was an anomaly. It's never going to be that again, not in the foreseeable future. We are now in regular real estate. It's challenging, it's difficult. The conversations are difficult, the negotiations are difficult. And I'm broadly stroke generalizing right now, but I just need everyone to have the right mindset that this is real estate. Negotiations are tough. They're challenging, they're exhausting. The needs of the sellers, the needs of the buyers, financing falling through, people not telling you the right information, no matter how many, if you asked all the right questions, transactions falling through for no real good reason. I mean, I literally, that is what I'm dealing with right now, is sellers didn't show up to the table. What do we do? Buyers didn't show up to the table. Nobody can reach them. I mean, we're just having like the crazy stuff isn't really crazy. It's actually very normal. It's literally, we all have to remember the contracts that we get executed with the consumer, with our clients, are only as good as the people that back them up. And the only way to enforce them is through the legal channels, not us. We do not enforce any of our contracts. We do our best to communicate what they are, communicate what they mean, communicate what the expectations are that based on their signature. But the enforcement actually happens with attorneys and the courts. Okay? Contracts are only as good as the people that back them up. And yes, there are going to be people that are going to be like, I didn't mean it. Not going to happen, not signing it, not selling. What can we do? Nothing. You tell the client you can take them to court and enforce the contract and force them to sell. It's a lot harder to force a buyer to buy. So I'm just saying, be prepared, have the right mindset, be positive. The more positive you are, the better outcome we're gonna get, and nothing's perfect. And the real estate industry is like the furthest thing from it, I'll tell you, or easy.
Not easy money.
It is not easy money, it's not quick money. And by the way, I would also say, whatever activities you're doing today, the fastest the return will show up is 90 days from now. The realistic return on today's activities is about 9 months from now. And anyone who's been in this industry long enough can validate me there. Your activities that you're doing right now take quite a while to show up. Have patience, have endurance. We're all in it together, right? None of us are experiencing anything like exclusive of anybody else. I mean, yeah, do I hear stories that I'm like, wow, that's a new one? It doesn't happen very often. Most of the time, it's something very similar to what someone else is also going through. So let's keep the conversation going, keep the questions coming. I'll get back to having Nexuses every month now that we're back in like non-summer activities. And, if you have something you want focused on, discussed, but thank you for your attendance in person. Thank you for your attendance online. And I look forward to the calls after following up to clarify what we talked about.
It's gonna be ringing though.
So we're actually done now, but if you have other things, we can keep talking. I'm not like running away, leaving. Go ahead.
So showing a house for someone else
Yes.
has to be within your brokerage. Can you do it for someone else?
No.
Another brokerage?
Can't. No.
Did she say no?
No, you can't. Oh, you are just amazing. Okay. Nope. Another brokerage. Okay, you should not, unless you have them under representation contract.
He's so fun. He's a face grabber. He's like ripped my earrings out a few times.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's gonna be nice.
Damn, this shit back. Your neck was getting red earlier.
Mine was, yeah, he like grabs my jugular.
Does that make sense? Why you can't after today's conversation?
Well, yeah, I mean,
I mean,
I-
can you? Do you?
yeah.
You go for it. If you get caught, you'll get in trouble.
He was smiling again.
Yeah, I have another, I
Scary.
have another agent that's like,
Joe?
we've done a couple things.
Back and forth.
Well, I've done it for her, she hasn't done it.
Okay.
Joe.
She was on it, on
And Alexis.
because I know her.
I mean,
Your
it's,
toy?
are you supposed to?
Okay.
Pull her earring out.
And then, remember you, yeah,
You know, go ahead.
show you something here.
Okay. All right.
Brought a little side pick today.
Yeah. It's super, super exciting. I didn't expect to see. How's everything been?
So,
Good. He's great. Yeah, he's
man, how long are these supposed to be sitting?
95th percentile on height.
Okay, go to the top.
Yeah, he's a tall boy.
See where it says submitted?
26.5 inches.
So it's been submitted. So it's in review.
Yeah.
And it's a buyer. And,
But yeah, no.
it's basically in submitted until it's reviewed.
Following him around with me, so when it's supposed to be.
Usually it's, every Tuesday.
Yeah. It's definitely a.
How long has it been in there?
Overall needs.
Maybe since Tuesday,
I think it's pretty.
So if you, if submitted it on
like
Tuesday,
last week.
A lot of other.
like last week,
Yeah,
Tuesday,
like last
and
week
it's,
stuff.
okay. But I will say, the,
Probably
so.
Not existent.
And Shelby's out of town right now, so.
Yeah, she was.
Help out.
they take it
From
from Vegas,
Vegas and then
just
she.
because of,
Other than
Anything
that,
else?
I've already had an offer that got declined. I
Okay.
mean, that was, we didn't get the bid on it. I didn't know I was supposed to put
Is
these
she
in
back?
immediately, so I said,
Oh.
yeah.
yeah,
I said,
everyone's learning.
I said, I already have it.
Yep,
My last brokerage, we just had to turn everything in at the end.
Okay.
we're just,
So I'm trying to figure this whole
And-
system out.
everybody will be, happier and it'll work better.
I have no problem doing it, I just didn't know.
I know,
Charlie.
because we didn't communicate it. Because we didn't
Love
communicate
Charlie.
it and now we are,
Yeah.
and it all
So
makes
now I'm like
sense.
putting it in, it's kind of, now what?
Yeah. So, and it'll be reviewed. I know.
Okay.
So excited to be here.
I'm excited.
Okay.
And then,
Yeah.
brought him in to see you earlier, Connie.
How you doing?
Yes, you were just the happiest boy.
Yeah, you did so good.
Hey, what's going on around here?
So good.
Learning all about real estate. He's like, my mama brought me and showed me. Oh, she's such a little snuggler too. People don't. He just started that like, I guess like a week and a half ago where he'll like really like put his head on you and snuggle in and I'm
Yeah.
I love that.
My little guy was never like that.
Really?
He was always like,
Ready to go.
just like interested in anything but like
Yeah,
that snuggle,
snuggle.
you know?
He's usually, I mean, he gets to the point where he's pretty dang busy, but every now and again you get
So
snuggles.
sweet to get the snuggles. That's so
He just transitioned to a different crib in our room because he was too big for his bassinet. He was like, every time he'd crawl out, his arms would hit the sides.
Bigger, mama.
But I didn't want to put you in your own room because I like to stare at you all night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's just starting to tease, like the teeth, not, he's not gonna get teeth for a while, but he's drooling like crazy. You are, aren't you?
Yeah.
Drooly monster. And you love people. Having busy days because then he sleeps good at night.
Yes, that's really good.
We're at home all day, then we both go crazy. But he's like just.
Hey Brad, you want to bring up any topics and toxins? We're still on the chat.
Yeah.
I know you're just doing.
They're like, we're gonna not sign off till this baby's out.
Oh, I'm working on something.
Great.
I cannot adapt to things that are not based in contractual language. So I am seeking clarification. Are you telling me that we are gathering the MLS input form at the time of listing for us or for MLS? Because MLS is already telling me that is not true.
We never have.
What's that?
MLS, we do not submit anything to the MLS.
I know. No, I understand that. But we are contorting a form for a purpose that is not defined for. Withheld gives us permission to withhold them from MLS, which is all we are doing. That gives us authorization. That declares that we are actually,
According to the MLS, that does not allow us to keep it off of the MLS. If we have a listing and
I'm already clarifying with them. I'll forward you the email chat. I'll just leave it at that. Because as soon as we're bringing in what MLS is saying, I've got it from MLS, and this doesn't make any sense. We're turning a form into something that's not intended to be used for. If we're using page one, only with page one, there isn't even an address on page one, number one. Number two, if we're sending them the whole contract, the whole MLS input form for their signature on page one, then in essence, they are authorizing us to input nothing.
Yeah.
You know, we're making a form do something it's not intended to do.
I know, I hear what you're saying, and it is intended to disclose to them and
No, it's
clarify
not. No,
agreement.
it's not.
What?
No, it's not. Has nothing to do, if I have a property in withheld, and let's go back to the origination of withheld. The origination was the party that didn't want to be publicly out there. Okay, that we had to get permission to not put them on MLS. Why in God's green earth are we going to get an MLS input form signed on something that's never going to be published?
Less.
What's
not make-
that?
If the form is to put them in withheld status, not active status. It isn't.
Correct. I agree with you.
You're in the listing.
That is the timing of the MLS form. That's all I'm taking issue with. If you look at every single one of my files, every last one of them has an MLS form that is complete with signatures before we go coming soon or active. It serves no purpose at time of list. We are contorting a document that can't be filled out. What's that?
Our brokerage wants the sellers to acknowledge that we are putting them in MLS as withheld status.
Which they do on a withheld. That's the purpose of the withheld form.
The okay,
You
well,
can just tell me, let me make it easy on you because I don't mean to put you in the corner. That's not what I'm intending to do. But we can't say MLS is requiring it this way. If it's our office saying we're going to do it this way, I can dislike it, but at least I know who the source is and I can tell you it's wrong.
well, the MLS is a form that is distributed by the MLS.
Yes, for the purpose of upload of your data into MLS and approved by your sellers to use it in its current form. But we're not doing that at time of list. That form is to make sure that I don't put in 5 bedrooms when they have 4. When I say they have 3 bedrooms instead of 2, it allows them to approve the public remarks. It allows them to approve the agent. That's what that form is for.
No, it's not. It is not.
Yes, it is.
To validate the information within it. It's
Correct.
because the seller isn't necessarily more knowing about their home than the agent. It's about approval to put the data within that form into the MLS.
Correct.
But it's
Correct.
not to validate or verify or double check to make sure that you have the right number of bathrooms.
We took a bunch of trees.
Okay. We're going to absolutely agree to disagree on this because, and I think if we sat down, I think I would convince you otherwise. Somebody has driven this home without anything. The listing input form, this is what I've got from MLS. The listing input form can be signed anytime before the listing goes into MLS. Now I'm defining what into the MLS means, but then they say that is the sellers verifying their data, and allowing the listing to be added to the MLS. Let me know if, and that's.
Is that at the time of the listing contract being signed? Because
I'm sending that file. No, it's not. It's just not.
Is being added to the MLS as withheld status.
You're playing semantics. We already have a withheld, and I'm getting this from the MLS. I'm asking to follow up questions because you're right. It's
that-
a definition of when it's input. You're trying to turn a 10-page document into a 1-page document.
Not.
Yeah.
You know, if you said the only first page that is required is page 1,
I give them to is like working on tablets,
Well,
so they use the stylus.
All of it can be submitted. It's
but
a-
all is required is page 1, so it's serving no purpose. That is an input form. We are not inputting them. We are withholding them.
I can expand it to say the data in the MLS input form should be filled in based on the specific requirements of what's required for withheld status or active status. But the reality is
Okay.
not all agents require the front desk to assist them in the input.
I'm wondering-
There are a lot of agents in our market center that have ad edit access.
Sure.
And as a brokerage, need to be able to manage that form at a minimum being signed by the seller at the time of exclusive right to represent and withheld. The sellers understand their data to some degree is going in the MLS. And the majority of our agents have ad edit access and are just own themselves.
It's like if you-
And we, as a brokerage, cannot
You do for your clients if you send them.
monitor what is on the following pages. We do not verify if there are
No,
bedrooms.
I understand. No, I understand you don't. No, I get that completely. Of course you don't. But
This is coming from is this is a matter of who's putting the form in. If the front desk is, it does have to be filled out. I'm not saying it shouldn't be filled
no, I
out.
agree. Yes, right. Yeah, I understand. Okay, maybe my context is a little different. Because maybe you've got those with that edit access that just simply have never had an MLS input form signed at all. And that certainly would be problematic.
Or doing it much after the fact. Or
Right, which makes no sense. This is where it goes back to logic. That I understand. And I understand you're managing different scenarios. But I'm not gonna go and have somebody sign a form that is blank. And which is giving authorization to us, and it doesn't serve any purpose.
That is not-
Withheld serves that purpose.
blank is not the standard. I never once said blank is the standard. I'm
So what
simply
was
at a minimum, that has to be filled out and signed at least to what withheld requires. We're not able to verify in the remaining pages after page 1. We just have to make sure it's signed by the sellers, so the sellers know that their data is being put in the MLS. If you have some other
correct? But they're,
going on, you could just as easily argue that they signed page 1 and these are the other notes I'm putting into the MLS. This is that right there is a loophole that the MLS has created by giving agents ad edit access. I am not suggesting that this doesn't, that the form doesn't need to be filled out before signed. I am suggesting it does. Absolutely, no question asked.
oh, I agree. On this, we agree. So when I send page 1 to somebody, because that's all they're signing at that time. I'm not going to send them the remaining pages because that gives their inherent approval of an input form that is not yet complete. It's not yet complete.
I'm not suggesting that you send your clients just page 1. I don't even know how to send just. I think you send all of them.
I'm not going to send all of it. I will send page 1 because all you do is peel it off as a print the PDF. But there isn't even an address on that.
No, but the seller's name and the list date and expiration date are.
They are not on page 1.
And you should be. I
Page
think
1 is a worthless page.
the miscommunication is that I said all we're worried about is page 1, but I didn't say that's all that's required to be submitted. The only thing we can verify is the signatures that are on that page.
I've sent just that first post before.
Correct. I'm just gonna say right now, I am not going to have them sign an MLS input form that is not worthy of approval of the content. That's counterintuitive. It isn't even sound contractual or agreement compliance. It's made up.
You should have the address filled in, you should have the price filled in.
It's on page 2. Well, yes, but then you're having them sign a form that is intended to be signed for them to approve anyway.
And that's what should be submitted when it's signed. and the rest is.
I will, yes, we're talking about the timing here. That's all we're talking about, you and I. The timing is the only thing that I'm raising here. You sit down, you get a contract in place, you go back at a later time, you take some measurements, you take your notes, you work diligently on your just public remarks, you audit for accuracy on your taxes, all the stuff they have in the.
And Brad, we are discussing semantics right now because there's no way the market center can manage how everybody gathers, when everybody gathers this data. I put listings in to the MLS because I have added access, and I've left certain things blank, like public remarks, until I come back and finish it. So the point is not everyone is expected to have a full, complete MLS input form filled out at any time. It's an impossible thing to manage. The
I
minimum.
understand. I understand. I'm telling you that I go above and beyond. And
I
I'm
know.
shifting my time. I have it on every one of my files, every last one. You can pull it.
I know, and you are not the norm.
I understand. We'll talk about this offline. How about that? So I don't need to make a headache for anybody else. Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
Okay,
Good. What's that?
let's continue with the conversation offline when
Sounds
I email from MLS and we can get further clarity.
Sounds good.
You are not filling minimum expectations. You are conducting business in an ideal way. Just to clarify, I only wish.
Oh, I see. You were trying to.
Okay, all right, we're gonna stop the Zoom. We'll talk soon, Brad.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi, Bubba.